Now, with the Ahsoka Tano series just around the corner, we got a couple of months to go until Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni get to share their new vision of a new way of exploring the Star Wars franchise. It's going to have a different theming, or a different tone, if you will, in comparison to The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett or anything else Star Wars that has been put out in live action. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, there's been a lot of things happening ever since the Mando Season 3 finale debuted on Disney+, which, by the way, I still stand by my opinion that it is the best episode out of all the past 7 episodes that came before it. And I'm not just saying that just because it's the finale and it had a couple of good moments in there. It actually had a better pace, it had better, editing, it had better cinematography, it just had a better quality to this specific episode. But today, that's not the point. We're focusing in on Mark Hamill and what he specifically had to say about the fan backlash, the fan criticism, and how he really is kind of starting to lose it with how fans have been reacting to the Mando Season 3 finale and just Mando Season 3 overall. And guys, to be clear, I love Mark Hamill. I think that he's a great lover of the Star Wars franchise. He really does enjoy the fandom. In fact, his son Nathan Hamill is like one of the biggest Star Wars fans out there, so it carries along with him as a father. So he understands, what fans are coming from, or where fans are coming from when it comes to some of the bad choices that Kathleen Kennedy really pressured on Jon and Dave to do, and he actually elaborates on that. We're going to be talking about all of this right now. So, given that there's a lot of things happening with Mark Hamill lately and how he's gearing up to be working more closely with Jon and Dave on The Mandalorian Season 4, he's got this real close connection to Jon and Dave, obviously, because of what they are about to utilize Luke Skywalker with. However, with Jon Favreau currently tied up within many Star Wars projects being developed at once, it's noted that recently Mark Hamill responded to the fan criticism and backlash over The Mandalorian Season 3 by stating the following to the entire community. I just think fans need to relax. Like, seriously, I do understand and love the fandom, but sometimes they can be so harsh on the creators and actors. I love Jon and Dave as writers, and they are great people, and fans need to understand that sometimes everything is not 100% in their control. I just think that this community should hold a little bit of decency and responsibility to the hard-working people, both the cast and the crew that worked on this season. I got to visit the set a couple of times and was invited to check out the sets of the finale, and it was spectacular seeing all these people working so hard. I feel the current state of the fandom is getting very toxic and ridiculous, and fans may not really know what they're talking about. This is a story that may not be perfect for everybody, and like always, with any other movie or show, you are not going to please everybody. So let me just stop right here for 1 second now. Look, maybe Mark Hamill has somewhat of a point that sometimes fans can be a little too much on the creators, but in this case with Mando Season 3, and especially with The Last Jedi, let's be real, fans have valid points as to why they're so upset with, what happened with Mando Season 3. It's not just about the overall structure of the show, but it was also about the dialogue, it was also about the loss of common sense in the story at some points in time. The list just goes on. And Kathleen Kennedy did end up having a lot of input into this script, and as we said multiple times, and I'm really trying to put this out there and make it clear for everybody, but she was involved with the script, but not during principal photography, not during the filming phase, essentially, when they were making this thing and shooting it. So, I guess that was the common misconception of Kathleen Kennedy not being involved as a starting point with Mando Season 3. It's that, yes, she was involved with the script, but not involved when they were filming. So thankfully, Mando Season 4, Ahsoka Season 1 and 2, and everything onwards, besides Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, are all going to be in Jon, Dave, Tony Gilroy and other creators' favors. So here's the other thing about this, is that Mark Hamill continues to elaborate and really kind of just put things at the forefront here about what the fans are being like toward the creators and the cast, the crew, etc. So he goes on to say further, I absolutely hold fans responsible for their actions, and I'm not saying every single fan is like this, but many within this community needs to dial it way back. I personally got to talk with John and Dave, and even they informed me directly that they couldn't obtain the exact vision that they had wanted at the time of writing the script. More fans need to keep an open mind that perhaps not every project or season is going to be perfect, and they should really sometimes think twice about the words that they put up on social media against the hard-working cast and crew a part of these projects. Now, before I get to the last thing that Mark says here, obviously, he's got a lot of issues with the backlash for Season 3 of Mando. I don't know if it's biased, because he's very good friends with John and Dave, and what they are doing with Luke in Mando Season 4. We've talked about this endlessly, about their ultimate goals and plans, about what they are going to do for the next installment, and how Luke is going to have his own limelight in there. But I think that it might be a mixture of Hamill being a little bit biased and being honest here too. It's really hard to sometimes pinpoint what Mark Hamill truly means, because we saw how he created that mask of his own for The Last Jedi Backlash. At first he was loving it, acting like it was the greatest thing in the world, and then he began spilling the beans. He was like, alright, you know what? I totally hated the direction of this character, I did not agree with Ryan, etc., etc., I wanted him to change things, and then Disney told him to retract those statements. It was a really big deal, so to speak. So, the next thing, and finally, he says, I'm not trying to be mean here, but it just irritates me seeing the fandom acting in such an inflammatory way against John and Dave when all the decisions made in this season was not theirs alone. I think many need to realize all of that and take that into thought. So again, I'm not a hater of Mark Hamill or anything like that, but at the same exact time, I think that he needs to realize that fans do have valid reasons why they did not like Season 3. Even I myself thought there were a lot of really bad decisions made in this season, let's be honest. I mean, Season 2, in comparison to Season 3, is like a masterpiece. It was so well made. I think that Peyton Reed knocked it out of the park as a director for the finale, and Dave Filoni did a fantastic job writing that Ahsoka episode. And you know what? At the end of the day, too, you gotta realize that, like Mark Hamill said here, it wasn't all up to John and Dave. And I think what Mark Hamill is saying, but also not saying, is exactly what has been known now, is that Kathleen Kennedy was involved in the writing of the script, or, not writing, but telling John and Dave, forcing them what to do and what not to do. But she was not present and not pushing any kind of changes for, the filming phase, principal photography. So, there were no hefty reshoots for Mando Season 3, there were no, big setbacks for Season 3 per se, because Kathleen Kennedy wasn't involved during that phase, and it makes a lot of sense, because anything that she is involved in tends to have reshoots, setbacks, delays, etc., like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, for example. Heck, even Boba Fett had some reshoots involved, as well as Kenobi. So overall, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.